Hello, thank you for joining tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about generosity, and it might not be exactly the kind of thing that you would think we would talk about. I'm not. This is not mainly about Ebenezer's financial state or anything like that, because actually, when you look in the grand scheme, Ebenezer's. I mean, we're not doing too bad. We're not. We're in the place that we always are in October. We really haven't met the need so far, and praying, hoping for a strong fourth quarter, and that usually does happen. But God will do what God will do, and we will do with what we will do. But I want to think tonight about a couple of things that are on our horizon. One of them is certainly our helping with Hurricane Helene and the recovery. We down here in the PD, we're used to hurricanes, and we're used to what they do, and we've seen the devastation. Maybe not quite to the level in years past. I mean, this is a Hugo style devastation we're talking about in western North Carolina and up in the upstate. Although the upstate seems to be recovering a little better, there's still folks who are without power and will be without for days and weeks. There are issues with supply chain. Certainly the port thing going on in the ports with the union going out on strike and the East Coast ports being shut down. That's not going to help things. And well, won't even talk about what I believe about that, but you can guess. But anyway, it's just ironic that that's happening on an election year. But I didn't say that. Erase that. Here's the thought, though. We in the PD, we've seen hurricanes come through, tropical storms come through. I remember a few years ago, I think it was Matthew, but I'm not sure, Hurricane Matthew, where I rode down Cherokee. You actually couldn't pass all the way down Cherokee Road in Florence, and it looked like some of those big trees that we've always loved on Cherokee. It looked like an F-16 had gone through and just plowed them down with missiles. I mean, it was just kind of a heartbreaking thing. And that's in the last 10, 12 years. That's not Hugo. The Hugo devastation was something totally different. That's kind of a benchmark for people around Florence. I wasn't in Florence. I was in the upstate when Hugo hit. But there's still people that talk about they remember Hugo. It was kind of this benchmark time. And that's what our brothers and sisters in the upstate and certainly in western North Carolina are going through right now. They are still digging people out. They're still rescuing people. They're still finding people that didn't make it. So we need to certainly be praying, but also we will have opportunities to help. One of the pressures that we found ourselves in right after this storm is there's a group of people that wants to go, and I appreciate that. The contacts that I have up there, and certainly they're not the official disaster relief contacts, but they're all working carefully in it, have said, don't quite come yet. We've got to have some time to sort some things out. Yesterday, we did get a call from South Carolina Disaster Relief requesting some help, and we put that request out through our Realm app and in an email. There's an opportunity, and even if you haven't been disaster relief certified and that kind of thing, if you can go and assist in Spartanburg, call the church office tomorrow. I mean, this mission is starting Thursday. It's starting tomorrow, which is Thursday, October 3rd. And if you want to help with that and would have the means to be able to go up and stay for a few days, there's about a 2-week span of meal serving that they're going to be doing. But call the church office, 843-669-1802. And we will direct you. Actually, there's another contact, and I'm not comfortable putting that out on the video, but if you'll call the church office, we'll direct you to the right place. But getting back to what God said, and I want to look at some Old Testament passages tonight, and mostly in Proverbs, but there's a couple that God laid down to the children of Israel, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. In Leviticus 9 through 10, God shared this as law for the children of Israel. He said, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. And then at the end of Leviticus 19, 9 and 10, right at the end of that command, he said, I am the Lord your God. And he's saying, God is saying this to you. In Deuteronomy 15, 7 through 8, if anyone is poor among your fellow Israelites in any of the towns of the land of the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward them. Rather be open-handed and freely lend them whatever they need. That's big, and that kind of goes against the grain of some of how we've been raised as Americans, but that's big. Psalm 37:26 says, the righteous are always generous and lend freely. Their children will be a blessing. Psalm 112:5 says, good will come to those who are generous and lend freely, who conduct their affairs with justice. Now, justice is really big. When you think about the fact that we are to conduct ourselves in a just manner towards all people, not just the poor, not just those who are in need, that we are to, and that speaks even to, I'm not going to go to Sam's and load my car up with generators and then drive to Spartanburg and sell them for double what I paid for them. It's now, I'm not talking to people who this is not a strike against people making money. It's a strike against people gouging. I believe it is a gouge. So I'm not throwing stones at your livelihood, but if you're doing something like that, where you could pay $500 for a generator and take it up there and sell it for $1,000, that's not a generous way to do this. Be careful, There are so many verses in Proverbs. Proverbs 11:24 and 25 says, one who gives freely yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly becomes to poverty. A generous person will prosper, and whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And in a way, Solomon, I believe, there is saying what goes around comes around. Proverbs 19:17 says, whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they've done. That fits exactly what Jesus said when he said, in Matthew 25, for I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. Whoever did, and I'm bouncing down, it's Matthew 25 verses 35 and following. He said, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me, Jesus said. He also said in Matthew 6, so when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they've received their reward in full. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Now, I think he's talking there about motive. Are you giving and doing what you're giving and doing to be seen? Or are you doing it because you have a heart for what's going on? If anyone would have a heart for what's going on up in Western North Carolina and up in the upstate right now, it should be us. It should be, and I'll tell you, it should be people from Charleston. It should be people from Myrtle Beach who have seen the devastation of these things. And I'm seeing that happen. At least my links at the beach and here, I'm seeing that happen over and over again, and I'm so thankful for it. And we need to give. We're going to need to go, and we're just going to need to go up there and be the church. And I say things like that, and often a criticism of David Wyke is, you tell us to be the church and you don't tell us how. Well, I'm going to tell you. Start reading John. Just start reading the Gospel of John. Read Matthew. Jesus will tell you very clearly what he expects of you to be the church. And I will help you with that. I can't tell you what you're called to, but I might can help you find it. So it's time for us to step up and love and be the church, even if it's doing it with people who look differently from us, act differently from us, who believe differently politically or otherwise from us. We still need to be the church. We still need to be Christ, even with people who don't revere Christ. If we don't show them the love of Christ, who will? And so it's our turn to step up and be who we're supposed to be. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're praying for those folks. Pray for our church. We do have people responding, and there will be other opportunities. And again, if you want to find out about that, call the church office and we can point you in the right direction and hopefully, get some relief headed up that way. Also would ask you to pray for our world. I see a lot of posts talking about Israel and the attacks that Israel are still under. Israel has been under attacks for years. What's going on over there right now, we need to be praying for Israel, and we need to keep an eye on this thing. Jesus said no one knows the day and the time of Christ's return, but I want to tell you, if you read the prophecies about the return of Christ and what's going on over there right now, it's time for us to get our houses in order. And if you have someone you love that you need to tell about Christ, you need to tell them. And we'll talk more about that in the days and weeks to come. Father, I pray that you'll be with us and help us to be the church that we're supposed to be. And Father, and to do that, we need to be individuals that are following you. And so help us with that. Lord, show us the way. In Jesus' name, amen. Hope you have a great week.